Hello, everybody. Some events have transpired, um, and for those of you who are just a brief update. I called restorative justice and Daniel Rock of Fawn's Kitchen. I talked about those in other videos in my last couple of videos. And I made calls to them, and that was last Saturday. And before that, I looked up the statute, the witness tampering statute, to make sure that that just to double check. I was quite sure that I'm proceeding as my own attorney, so I'm allowed to talk to witnesses. He's a witness, but my call didn't have anything to do with that, and I said as much. Anyway, that was last Saturday, and then 3 days later, which was last Tuesday, I protested in front of the Restorative Justice Project office and Fawn's Kitchen restaurant as well. The first thing I did is that when I got into town, I got right into town, and then it was like 6:30, 7 a.m. I was walking past that area. I have to walk into town. I get a ride to the east side of town. I have to walk to the middle part of town, Belfast, and then walk back and get a ride back to Swanville here. So I got there and I went over there in front of those two establishments, and I wrote some messages, chalk messages, for District Attorney Irving, saying, District Attorney Irving is a 4-letter word beginning with C, and F her, and the like. Well, no, those two messages basically. And then I made recordings of the calls. I call those calls to Restorative Justice and Fawn's Kitchen. Or rather to Daniel Rock of Fawn's Kitchen. I uploaded the one to Daniel Rock. Or two, because one phone conversation, 2 messages, one extremely brief, just to let them know the name of my YouTube channel, because I want to just clarify things on there. And so I made those 2 calls, uploaded, or calls to him, calls to Restorative Justice, uploaded the ones to him. I didn't get a chance to upload the ones from Restorative Justice. Will, as soon as I can. And then around noontime on that same day that I went in the morning and wrote some chalk messages, I did a few other things, did some shopping and whatnot, and I came back and I protested for about 40 minutes. It was around noon, midday-ish. And I had the sign. This, I remember this sign. I had this one. And where was I? Yeah, so I had that sign out there. I was just walking around, talked to a few people. I wasn't saying anything, sloganizing or anything, because apparently that's illegal, to say out loud. But I have been writing on multiple occasions, in writing even, that sign in particular is okay. So I felt safe with that. But well, anyway, the DA walked past at one point toward the end of the 40 minutes, and he went and got his lunch at this place called the Co-op, which is nearby, and then he walked back the other way, and I saw him laughing like he thought it was really funny that I was out there. And I recorded this, but I haven't had a chance to upload it yet. And then, so yeah, I protested for about 40 minutes, got some various gestures of various sorts, and got a few people said a few things. At one point, a guy came out of Fawn's kitchen and went and smoked a cigarette not far from me. I think he was just taking his break. But then he kind of on the way back in, he says, "Why you got to do that?" And I said, "Well, because it's true." And I saw him go back into Fawn's. I hadn't noticed him come out of there, but that's where. So I assume he was an employee there or something. Anyway, yeah. So after the protest, I went to the library to upload the footage from the protests. Oh, and I should mention, by the way, after I did that chalking on the pavement in front of Fawn's Kitchen and Restorative Justice, not long after at all, like within 10 minutes, Officer Trabuzio, who is now apparently Officer Harriman, I guess she's changed her name or got married, changed her name for some reason, got married or otherwise, I don't know. Anyway, it said Harriman on her outfit, her uniform now instead of Trabuzio, but she's the one that summoned me for the disorderly conduct for swearing in Belfast, and she showed up at that where that I had chalked that after I have like 10 minutes after I did that, and then pulled away, and she saw me. I was not far from the library at that point also, but I was headed kind of down toward the park because the library wasn't open yet. It was a nice day. And she pulls down beside me, and she gives me a big wave and a big smile. Hi, she, like, she didn't say that, but just like, ha ha ha, aren't we having fun? She's trying to send me. She's trying to have me put in a cage for 6 months because I swore with prior police assurance that wouldn't get me summoned or arrested. Yeah, so we're having a lot of fun, aren't we, Megan? Anyway, and then the rest of the day, the entire day, I kept seeing cops, state of Maine police, sheriff's department deputies, their vehicles, driving past me, just all morning long. Definitely felt like I was being surveilled. When I was on my way to the library, there was a police car, unmarked, but one of the BPD. They have like all black. They look exactly like the other ones, except they're all black, but they still have some of the gear. You can tell they're cop cars if you look closely. One of those parked on the sidewalk, like a block away, and as soon as I'm getting close to the library, it pulls out and obviously, reported that I was on the move and whatever. And then I went into the library and I was getting ready, trying to upload the footage, and didn't. I was just starting, and sometimes the Wi-Fi there is pretty slow. It depends on how many people are there. Anyway, I was there for about 5 minutes. I had to restart I tried restarting my phone because that also sometimes seems to help it connect with the Wi-Fi more efficiently. I don't know. Anyway, about 5 minutes and 4 cops come up the stairs into the Belfast Free Library, and that's him. Yeah, that's him. Come across, say, John Floyd. Yes. I mean, yes. Can you mind coming with us outside, stepping outside? I said, am I under arrest? And he said, yes. It was a deputy. Because it turned out it was 2 BPD officers and 2 Waldo County deputies. And there's a reason for that. A jurisdictional reason for that, which I'll get to in a sec. But anyway, so I said, am I under arrest? And the deputy sort of leading the charge said yes. And I said, okay, can you grab my stuff, my duffel bag there, and and I'll accompany you outside. And then he stops me and he says, you need to put your hands behind your back. We're gonna, after having asked me to go outside, then he's gonna handcuff me for some reason. but one of them got my bag, and they handcuffed me, and I paraded me through the library, 4 cops, me in handcuffs, perp walk, trying, I'm guessing, to kind of discredit me at the library intentionally, maybe get me in trouble with the staff there, because I know I access the Wi-Fi there a lot. Also, that's relevant. And anyway, and they bring me outside, and in handcuffs, and I walk past, apologize to that library staff. Luckily, I think I'm on very good terms with them. Nothing like that ever happened before, and I was anyway. Yeah, I don't think it'll be an issue, but I think they may have been like trying to get me trespassed from there or something. Was there an ulterior goal of all this? And yeah, so it was Megan Trabuzio, who is now apparently Megan Harriman, plus another BPD female officer, and a deputy Dyer, I think his name was, and another deputy who turned out to be a trainee. Deputy Dyer was the arresting officer, because what I then at that point asked, what am I to arrest for? What are the charges? And they said, felony, witness tampering. And I said, I just uploaded a video that's very relevant to that. Can you watch it? It's only like 20 minutes long. It's actually like a little closer to 30, but I think that's what I said. He said, no, I'm not going to watch that, or can't watch that, or something like that. And then and Megan Trabuzio and the other BPD officer, they were putting me in the back, kind of searching me, and getting ready to put me in their sheriff's department vehicle. And the BPD officers were standing on the sidewalk there. And I looked over at Megan Trabuzio, well, now Megan Harriman, and I said, "You fucking cunt." And she says, "This isn't my doing, Sean," I think is what she said. But she had if she hadn't have busted me for swearing, then that call would not, they couldn't even allege that it was witness tampering. It wasn't witness tampering, but they couldn't even have alleged it anyway. Sorry about that. There are chipmunks here. Lots of chipmunks. Anyway, I like chipmunks though, so I'm not complaining. So they arrest me and transport me up to the jail, in the direction of the jail. And along the way, I had an interesting conversation with them. Funny in a sense. I asked this Deputy Dyer, I'm pretty sure that's his name, the arresting officer. I said, so which elements of the statute did I violate? And he said, I'm not going to argue about the law with you, Sean. He just wants to enforce it. He's not going to argue with me about it. The validity of what. But then I asked, what was your probable cause? You kind of that you're going to have to reveal that at some point. And he says, your probable cause is when I arrested you. That's your probable cause. Kid you not, this officer of law. And then I persisted, and I started to object. No, I'm talking about property. And it clicked finally in his head what I was asking. And he said, Daniel Rock called them, and he threatened that, and he said, this is what the officer said, mind you. He told me that Daniel Rock called them and told them at the sheriff's department that I had, quote, threatened him to drop the charges, unquote. That was what I said or communicated to Daniel Rock, according to this deputy according to Daniel Rock. That was his report of the phone call. Yeah, threatened him to drop the charges, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, it's like grammatically weird, but also just it's and I wrote it down. That's why I remembered it exactly. I had a chance to take lots of notes. And besides being grammatically awkward, it doesn't make any sense because Daniel Rock doesn't have any charges to drop. He was Trabuzio cum Harriman just went down there and solicited a statement from him and made him a witness in it. He doesn't have any charges to drop. And if you've seen the video, I clearly didn't ask him to change, any testimony or anything like that. I definitely, it's just flatly untrue, basically. Anyway, so that's what he said, this deputy. So, that was his probable cause, is a call from this guy. And then I informed that, I think I reminded him that, because I'd already said it at the library, but I mentioned the video recording again that proves I'm innocent. And he said, you'll have your day in court. And so then I asked him, okay, well, what's going to happen when after I have my day in court and I prove beyond a reasonable doubt that I'm innocent of these charges, which I can do to a reasonable person, definitely to a jury of my peers. So I asked, what's going to happen when I get out and prove that Daniel Rock lied, that he lied me into jail and cost the county all kinds of money and Belfast money and, embarrassed me at the, all this stuff. I didn't necessarily list all that, just, but what's going to happen to him when I can prove that he lied and, that it's a false police report. It's a crime, straight up, no doubt. And this officer of law, Deputy Dyer, just wouldn't answer. He didn't say a word. And the other guy didn't say anything. And I said, yeah, is he going to have his day in court? Wouldn't say anything. And then we arrive at the sheriff's office, the jail. They're part of the same building. The DA's office, the sheriff's department, and the jail are all part of the same complex, I guess. And then so he needs to get on the radio and inform Doodle-Doo, and I told him, I said I was going to sue him. I also said it at the library. I think this is malicious prosecution. I'm going to sue you over this. And he says, I don't care. Sue me. Sue the county. I don't care. And then I mentioned it again, after they, get me out of the vehicle, and we're waiting for the corrections officers at the jail to let me into the jail. I said it again, and definitely going to sue you over this. And actually, I should make a correction. If I don't know what Daniel Rock said, I only have this deputy's account of it and the DA's account, which I'll get to. But this deputy, if Daniel Rock called and lied, don't know if he did, but if he did, then the deputy might be covered, probably is covered. Although he could have, it could have all been avoided just by him watching the video. But of course, they're not going to even acknowledge that the video exists, probably. Although I don't know how they're going to get around it because it's the only evidence against me that they could possibly, I don't know what else they'd offer. But anyway, I told him I'd sue him again, and he said that he's been on the job for 8-9 years or whatever it was, and how many times I've been told that. And I was able to let him know that my latest 1983 civil rights suit against Kevin Littlefield and deputy now BPD officer Kevin Littlefield and another guy deputy named Porter over an ankle monitoring incident from just about 6 years ago now. They were served with it, and again the county has hired the same law firm they hired to get the the first one that I got past the filing stage, because now this is the second one I've got past the filing stage. Sorry. That's proceeding. Yeah, they've been served. They hired, county has hired the same law firm again. This case is much better because they weren't able to get a conviction. I basically defended myself. I had a lawyer, but he didn't do anything. And he undermined me, just like they all do. But it was such a horrible case that, you know, I hadn't, even if the proved true, all the facts were proved true, it didn't demonstrate a violation of law. Just like this swearing thing. Even if they prove everything they're alleging, it doesn't amount to a violation of the law, you know? So it was like that. And so it was easy to beat in that case. And well, in both cases, actually, that's this disorderly conduct charge is not an issue, I don't think. Except that it led to this charge again, you know. Anyway, so that was that. You know, he arrested me because they wanted to arrest me. Basically, what they wanted was to keep me in jail if possible, because then I can't defend myself against these underlying charges, you know, because that's, I mean, the only hope they have, and they're so absurd otherwise. Okay, so I get arrested. They bring me into Waldo County Jail. This was Tuesday around midday, and I have a bail hearing Wednesday afternoon, and they do it by Zoom, which is nice because you don't have to get handcuffed and transported down to the courthouse and handcuffed and transported back. It's way easier. You just walk out of your cell, sit down in another room. Anyway, and before the bail hearing itself, meeting with the judge, I met with a lawyer of the day. I think his name was Handelman. And the lawyer of the day is just the lawyer that's on hand to answer any questions. They can represent you if you want, even if you already have a lawyer, because usually, you know, a lawyer is not always available for a bail hearing. It's because it's something that happens kind of suddenly. And so that's the way Maine handles all that. And so he was that guy. He was the lawyer of the day that day. And he asked me a few just preliminary questions, told me what the new charges were, felony, witness tampering, read them to me, basically just kind of requoted the statutes, worded it slightly differently, it seemed to me. But when I questioned him, he said, no, that's the statute. But anyway, I'll deal with that later. And I told him, oh, well, yeah, there were two charges, felony and witness tampering, and then a bail violation, because even though I was never arrested for the swearing charge or the incident with the trike guy, which is a criminal mischief charge, I had to agree to bail conditions to not go to jail on the second one, which turned out, even though they happened in the, well, anyway, that doesn't matter. I had to agree to the bail condition to not, among other things, not violate the law. So now, because they are alleging I violated the law, they're also alleging that I violated bail, and so that allows them to introduce a motion to deny me bail, which the DA did. So they want to keep me in jail. And I told this attorney, basically I want to represent myself. What I want to do is, I had time to write an argument for bail, why I should be released on bail, relatively short. And I told him that, what I want to read this real quick, take less than 5 minutes. I asked him, how much time do we have? And he wouldn't quite say, but I got the idea of, 5 or 10 minutes wasn't crazy. And so, I said this would take less than 5 minutes and just get a little feedback from you. And he said, okay. And I start reading, and he interrupts me. He says, like, I'm going to interrupt you right there. I'm going to stop you right there. I'm sorry. The judge is not going to want to hear about past stuff that happened in the past. They're going to want to know about this. well, and I said, okay, well, can you just let me finish? And, I conclude some of that, stuff that, I get to that, but there's a backstory here. And I start reading, and I'm going to stop you right there. The judge is not going to want to hear this backstory stuff. He doesn't care about all that. What he cares about, what we need to convince him of today, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, just let me read this, please. And then take notes. And he did that, similar things, a couple more times, and then he's at one point he starts saying, "Look, you're not going to get released today. I'm sorry, you're not getting out. It's not going to happen. Well, there's a chance, but it is an uphill battle. So you better get used to that. You better get that through your head, kind of thing. This is a very serious charge, and this is an uphill battle. And no, what we need to do is to convince the judge, we need to try it my way." Because, and so what he's telling me essentially is, dude, you need to shut up, and we got to do it my way, because your way is going to keep you locked up in here. My way is going to keep you locked up in here. But I know what I'm doing, so we need to do this my way. And really, that's, okay. This is a court-appointed attorney, of course. And I try, I start, I have to defend why I want this guy to just shut up and hear me out for a minute. And then I start again, and he interrupts me at some point, and he starts laying into me like, "Look, man," I don't know if he said that. "Look, you harassed this guy. You left threatening messages on his machine. You threatened his children. And the DA walked by and saw you protesting." And I said, "Protesting is not against the law. And I didn't do all of that stuff. Why are you taking the DA at his word and assuming I'm guilty? You're wrong." And I had to come back at him like that. And then, and then he says, "See, now the judge is not going to like this. You're getting all hot and bothered here. What you have to do is you need to learn how to say, 'Yes, Your Honor,' and 'No, Your Honor,' and otherwise shut up and let me handle this." And about then, I don't know, so right around then, I just stopped for a second and collected my thoughts. I thanked him for his time. And said, and I'm going to represent myself. And he said, "Okay, well," then he becomes much more conciliatory. He's like, "Okay, well, I'll be here. If you need me, I can jump in if you need." And then, when it comes time for the hearing, he's more like that again. So, okay, that happened. So then I have my bail hearing, and still in Waldo County Jail, which is not where I'm at now. I'm at a different facility. So the judge is Eric Walker, who had a really bad. He banned me from my hometown for a year and a half. It ended up being, for a year is what he signed off on. It ended up being a year and a half because of some scheduling stuff with the court. But it's a really draconian, really rough ruling, and there was no basis for it really, and it was really unfair. It was a civil thing, but still, it banned me from my hometown, under threat of arrest. I couldn't vote that year. It was 2020. In person, I had to. Luckily, the folks from the town office delivered me a ballot, because it all happened right around voting time. Anyway, he had this really bad ruling against me, but I think he actually feels guilty about it, because the last few times I've dealt with him, he's not the one, unfortunately, Actually, odd for me to say that, given that he banned me from my hometown over protesting uh, for a year because the folks at Swan Lake Grocery didn't like me protesting, and that's what they said in their complaint. And he went along with it because I didn't get the notice for the hearing. Okay, so there's the story after all. But anyway, but lately, he's been a couple of times. He's presided over the hearings in these recent charges, and he is definitely on my side now. And but we're not there. We're not out of the woods yet. So there was preliminary stuff, and the DA is there, and Rick Otto of Maine Pretrial, it's called, was there, and this guy Handelman, the attorney of the day. Anyway, so after some preliminary stuff, then the judge asked the DA to weigh in. DA says, reads my criminal history and says the same sort of thing. I called this guy and threatened him, this Daniel Rock, and threatened him, threatened his children, threatened his livelihood. I was protesting, and he, I don't know if he said he saw me, but that I was protesting for sure, and made me just sound awful, evil, and all, and then it was my turn, and I have my argument for bail right here, so I'll go ahead and read it. This is not a defense; it's all relevant to my bail and why I should be released on bail. Currently, I have 2 charges: criminal mischief charge. The bail conditions rose out of the disorderly conduct charge, which is underlying the present charge, which that was the hearing was about, the witness tampering charge. And then I also have a criminal mischief charge, which arose because I was protesting. I was accosted, insulted, and sworn at, and threatened, and attacked by a guy on a motor trike. And I have a video that proves this. But the trike was damaged in the process. So I was charged over that, and he was not charged with anything, despite my video. And right around this time, there's somebody in Waldo County Jail in another cell starts banging and all this, and so I have to try to. That was another couple minutes, which was really rough and distracting. But I got through it, and Judge Eric Walker, bore with me, was very patient. Anyway, and so I continued, despite the banging on the wall. A few days later, I was protesting, and some of Daniel Rock's customers, Daniel Rock being the alleged victim in the present case, and a witness in the criminal in the disorderly conduct, the swearing case. Some of his customers objected to my protests in Belfast, and they called the police on me, and I was summoned and charged with disorderly conduct. And like I said, Dan Rock gave a witness statement. Now I'm proceeding pro se because I had issues with the first attorney, and I've had issues in general with Maine court-appointed attorneys, and that's why the ACLU is suing the Maine Public Defender Services. And the DA has been withholding discovery all along and obfuscating and obstructing as much as they can up to the present in both cases. Now, and I've also got a docket call coming up in a few weeks at this point. So I decided to risk protesting to bring attention to the situation and hopefully pressure the DA's office to drop the charges, share the discovery, whatever. And so I called Restorative Justice, let them know about the situation. Well, first I looked up the witness tampering statute, make sure, I wasn't doing it. Called Daniel Rock, and you've seen that video. If not, it's on my YouTube channel. And I called him specifically to tell him that my protests were not about him as a witness. I was not asking him to change his testimony. Very specifically, that was more than at least half of my message anyway. And I told him that I doubted the case would even go to trial because it's I'm charged with swearing, which isn't a crime. And I recorded and published this conversation a few days prior to protesting, thinking that it might keep me safe from the police. But immediately after I began protesting, wait, no, that's not right. I said that wrong. I recorded it a few days. I uploaded it just prior to arrest, or a little while, like an hour or something. Anyway, but immediately after I began protesting, I was arrested over Dan Rock's allegations, which are patently and demonstrably false, because I recorded the phone call that we had. In addition to all of the above, I should be released on PR bail because I've lived in Maine my whole life. And consecutively since 2007, I have family and friends in the area. I just started a new job of sorts. I'm cutting wood off a family woodlot, which I can sell. This being behind bars will greatly hamper my ability to defend myself against all of these charges. There is a condition under which which can be imposed to prevent me from reoffending, because specifically Thomas Benner to get out on another bail condition was that I not contact Thomas Benner. And Thomas Benner is a neighbor of mine. He lives just up the street from me. I have abided by that. There has not even been an allegation of any violation there. But the same, so why can't we do the same with Daniel Rock? And I will certainly abide by it. And if anything, I'm much more worried about the case regarding Thomas Benner, and he attacked me physically. So if I'm going to tamper with anybody, anyway. And then I turned it over to Rick at Otto at Maine Pretrial, who they aren't involved basically. But that happened. Then the judge thought for a minute. Oh, and the DA had asked for $2,500 bail when he realized that the judge wasn't necessarily going to outright deny me bail. He asked for $2,500, which I don't think anybody could have done that. But then the judge, Eric Walker, said I could be released on bail, and it would be only $500, which is still a lot of money. But I was able to find somebody who is able to post that. And I have bail conditions. I'm under house arrest. I was transported. Oh, well, yeah. So after that, then they held me for another night at Waldo County. I was making calls trying to bail out, or find somebody to bail me out. Then I ended up being transferred to Two Bridges Jail, and then I was held there only for like a few hours. And then I was released on bail for $500. So I can't protest. I'm under house arrest. And so there are conditions, but I'm under house arrest. I'm arrested here. It's a horrible imposition, really. But why don't we just walk here? Oh, I got a letter from Eric too. He's doing pretty well. It sounds like he offered to help me with my lawsuit, and he's had one that's successful, so that'd be good. Pay no attention to anything on the table here that you might see. It's nonsense. Oh, has anybody heard of Zart? These guys are wild. Check this out. They're I think they're Polish. New. They're like completely mysterious and weird and awesome. Zart. C-Z-A-R-T. I'm gonna feed my fishes, and then we'll take a little walk. This house arrest stuff is fucking awful, man. Jesus. Hey, fishes. Say hi to YouTube. There you go. I'll feed them more later. Anyway, yeah, so funny thing about my bail conditions It was raining earlier. It's nice now. That's good. Funny thing about my bail conditions, oh hey, we can walk down to my woodlot. Yeah, so the deal is on under house arrest, but the judge gave me exceptions for employment. Well, it's written. There's two different places where it's written. It's written differently. In one place it says main pretrial if offered, which it wasn't, so I don't have to worry about it. House arrest except employment, comma, medical, plus legal appointments, plus grocery store. And on the other one, it's written house arrest except employment, comma, medical, plus legal, plus grocery store. So the word appointments is left out. Now that's pretty much how the judge said it, that second way. But for whatever reason, it was written down with that word appointments in there by the clerk, instead of copying it word for word again or whatever. And so now, if I don't have an appointment, a legal appointment, I can't do legal stuff. I called the DA and said, look, I got to go to the library and like make copies of stuff, of motions and stuff, and make CDs for evidence. And, I can't, that's the only place, literally the only place in Belfast you can do that kind of thing anymore. All the other copy places have closed down. And they said, sorry, we can't give you permission. I said, well, can I go to the court or go to your office and drop off motions? And, well, no, we can't give you permission to do that. Sorry. You could talk to Rick Otto because he's the main pretrial guy. And so I talked to Rick Otto. He said, well, I can't imagine why they would arrest you for doing that stuff. And I had to pick up some evidence, which I also did. Not evidence, personal items from evidence. They were just stored in evidence. My bag, basically, that they had taken. They went through, I'm sure. Yeah, so now I got to clear that up because right now, they managed to handicap me. They didn't keep me in jail. And by the way, DA Irving, fuck you very much for trying, you fucking cunt. Nice try, bitch. Fuck you. You too went to us, so you fucking cunt. Jesus fucking Christ, these people. Cop, I don't know. Maybe. Except Megan fucking Trebuzio Harriman, who started the whole thing. Fuck you too, you fucking piece of shit. Anyway, here's my woodlot. So I got about a cord there. It's like probably a couple $100 worth of wood. Got some big trees here I haven't cut up yet. And I'm starting to cut them to size here. I'm going to split this stuff up. So anyway, the bugs really are bad here in jail. That sucks. But no, all kidding aside, I feel, oh, there's a gunshot. Way off in the distance though. This was a close one. In retrospect, should not have taken the risk. But it's going to pay off because I'm going to be able to sue somebody because either the cops lied or somebody else lied. Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And goodbye from jail. And next court date is 6/24. I'll be in touch before then. Still going to town and access Wi-Fi at least. All right. Keep fighting. Peace.